Welcome everybody to episode 2 of Comeback Conversations. Each week we're going to get on a call, we're going to get on a Zoom, we're going to do a podcast with a comeback. Somebody who's come in through this lifestyle, someone who's really ingrained in the way we operate, the way we do things. This lifestyle of the 7Fs, goal setting and just going for more, like looking for the next level, continual pursuit of the best version of ourselves. Right now I'm with my friend Mike Macchione. Mike, dude, I've known you for a bit now, but why don't you introduce yourself to some of these guys that may not know who you are?
What's going on, guys? My name is Mike. I joined sometime in June. I know we don't like to count days around here, but I have the date somewhere written down, but I haven't been following it. But I would say,
I think you meant January, brother.
Yeah, January. I'm sorry.
It's June now.
Edit that. Tell Ryan to edit that.
Ryan will clean us up. Ryan's a good job at cleaning us up.
So yeah, my name is Mike. I actually started in January. Not sure which date. I really haven't been keeping track on the time as far as days themselves. I have it written down somewhere. I started out very skeptical with just making a change in general before I actually even called and clicked the link, or I found the link months and months in advance, and I told my wife one time and she laughed about it the one time. But yeah, man, I actually hit it and committed to it, and this is where I am right now. So like I said, I'm going on my 6th month right now.
So and a lot of guys do the same thing. I probably looked at some of these things for 3 months or so on and off, and maybe this is good, maybe this is not, maybe it's real, maybe it's not. Describe where you were, we kicked off in January, and I remember you and I having that first conversation. What was December like? What was the months or weeks leading up to, that point of I just can't fucking do this anymore? Talk about where you're at then.
Yeah, I think it was just a ticking time bomb at that point. It was just ready to explode, for the worst, myself personally, my family, along those lines. It was just an absolute ticking time bomb that I finally put my foot down and just kind of said, enough is enough. What do I need to change? Yes. Did I know that I needed to change? Yes. Did I know what was going to help me change? Absolutely not. I didn't know if it was going to be this, but I just knew deep down inside that what I was doing wasn't right, So at that point, everybody has that fear of the change. Do you want to change? What's it going to be like on that? Just crossing that line a little bit, literally putting your toes over that line to see what it feels like. Just testing out the water. Is it going to be good? Is it going to be bad? That fear of going backwards. So I personally would never want to put my toes in that water, because I was good where I was, because I never wanted to feel something go backwards. If to feel good would probably feel great, which it does right now, and that's why I continue to use that as my high, and my drunk right now. I drive off this, but then really it just gets into the deeper problems of why I was not committing, because I had a hard time committing. I had low confidence. There was a bunch of different things that I've found about myself that literally just making that choice, pulling that trigger and saying enough is enough today. I have stories of why it led up to enough, which probably would be very similar to guys' stories, that why they would even be interested into this, from the drinking, from the episodes, from not remembering, from ruining, relationships, from, just actually ruining them because you want to ruin them, to prove yourself right. There's so many things that went deeper inside of this that, to make myself, feel better as the days went on, was destroying, situations and things, and then kind of repairing them and rebuilding them. That was a satisfaction of mine, which was kind of for what, and really I was trying to search to feel good, but I couldn't find it. And really it was just as simple as just stop drinking, get your shit together, get a little clearer, and start doing a little bit of work.
So, what I heard you say there was you were obsessed with kind of creating a fucking fire, putting shit on fire, and then fixing it. You lived in this kind of state of causing trouble to say, hey, there's trouble, I gotta fix it. Busying yourself with this one fucking issue. But I know I've never met your wife, but I am sure she's a very patient lady. So talk about where we're at, with the wife. I know you got 2 little kids. Talk about what that lifestyle was for you, 6-7 months ago. What kind of a dad were you, I guess, compared to the dad you are now?
Yeah, I just completely was, I was physically there. It could go from starting from the beginning of that, what I was always thought of what made, a man was to just financially support. And I think a lot of us have been groomed into that. Little did I know that at the end of the day, what you're trying to do during that and caring about everyone else's feelings and thoughts, the real people that you're avoiding, which are the people that you just named out of my dome, that I was ignoring and I was avoiding because I was worried about so many other things and it would affect my home. So I'm out there bobbing and weaving in the real world and, literally just shooting a shotgun off a hip every single day, just seeing where the shit sticks on the wall type of just daily moves and actions and, just decision making. And I was affecting so much at home because then when I got home, that anxiety of all that chaos would be built up. And it would affect when my son would want to go outside and do something simple on the swing set, or, my daughter as she was growing up, like, oh, I don't even want to be near a baby right now. Like, like those little things. And now, like when I hear my daughter cry in the middle of the night, I'm like, like it doesn't bother me, like, versus like, it would be like, I have to get up for work in the morning. This is bullshit. There's so much more because I've turned my focus to show them every single day my legacy with them, because at the end of the day, when no bullshit, when you pass, there's only very few people that are going to remember you. Mine has to be some people that are fully in my dome, some people that I allow in and out of my dome, and then everyone else I really don't give a shit about because they'll forget about me. They'll, say, get a new guy for the job. They'll go work for somebody else. Like there's all these different things that they replace you with, but those few people that you ignore and that you actually hurt during this whole process are the ones that are going to remember you. And I try to live my day that my kids remember me from here on out so that they actually forget about how things were 7 months ago.
You talk a lot about legacy and the intentionality, and I hear it like it's coming off you, like the intentionality inside of the actions that you take with your kids. And you and I've talked a bunch of times, the intentionality of being with those kids, being present. Like you shared with me earlier, you don't go to the gym between those hours where these kids are up and running, like literally to the point of going to the fucking gym at 1 o'clock in the morning, 10 at night, whatever it is, because you do need to get it done, and that. But the most important fucking thing in your life is your kids and your family, and that. We all used to say that kind of shit, right? That sounded really good. I'd do anything for my kids, The reality was we didn't, right? We showed up, we did what we needed to. A lot of us relied on our wives to just handle most things. And what you're doing now is really stepping up and being fucking present and powerful inside of their life. You're creating, through every single action that you take every single day, a legacy that you are going to be fucking proud of. So that's beautiful. Like that, a lot of guys get so caught up with like the drinks and the don't drinks and shit like that. This lifestyle is so much more like a present father, right? A guy in command of who he is, what he wants, and why he wants it. And that's what I see in you right now.
Yeah. It goes a lot longer than, just replacing your time that you weren't there with a present or something to grab your kids' attention. It goes like, if I were to just give myself to them versus getting them, something crazy expensive to make up the time because of my guilt, right? They would take that time any day of the week, versus any gift I could possibly give them. But the gift that I'm giving is me versus actually going buying. And, that's what I thought, like, I'm like, oh, I'm giving back to them. It's okay that I'm not spending time with them. But really in the end, like I said, how am I going to be remembered to them? The guy that just bought them shit?
Yeah, the generous guy who just throws around Xboxes and shit, but he's never here.
Exactly.
Mike, talk about some of the changes that you've seen inside of your kids and inside of your wife. Like when we get started, we go a million miles an hour into this thing, and sometimes a week, 2 weeks, a month into our comeback feels like a fucking lifetime. 6 months of being a comeback, I don't know, that's like 2 years of comeback time. But what changes have you seen from your wife and from each of your kids?
I'm going to start with things are great. They're wonderful. I still have a lot of work to do on myself. Because every day is work. So it's never going to stop, because once you stop is once you get into that old habits and those old points, and then you start itching for something, anything, just any of those bad habits. It doesn't even have to be alcohol, because I honestly don't even think about that anymore. Like I think about now that I'm dealing with this, anger and all those things, and, just things that like getting overwhelmed. But by me controlling those now, what is done for my family is that, you know, the love and the time that's being spent right now and the communication is just like tremendous. Like me and my wife are, you know, we have things to work on. Everybody has things to work on with their wife, but to literally put the truth on the table and communicate about anything and just say how you feel, even if you have to sugarcoat it a little bit before you say it and be like, hey, I'm not trying to be a dick, but I need to say this so that we can communicate about this, versus that whole let's bicker, let's not talk for 2 weeks. You sleep on your side of the bed, I'll sleep on the couch. Like really. And then at the end of the day, you're like, okay, 2 weeks went by. And then you're sitting there, you're like, I could have easily just talked to them about this and anybody about that. It doesn't even have to be family, but then that shit builds up, lingers. And for what? For you to just literally just get it off your chest. I'm a big believer of not letting things build up anymore, because as they build up, that's when obviously it falls over. So, you know, if deal with it now, you know, and situate it. So, you know, I'm with my son and like my daughter, just, you know, every single day I try to make sure that we do something that's going to make them laugh, have a great time. Yesterday I came home, I literally was just in a rare form because I was getting overwhelmed and stuff like that. But then with a flick of a switch inside my brain, I was like, you know what? I'm going to choose not to do this right now because I have these 2 little kids in front of me and they deserve more right now. So I texted my wife. I'm like, hey, I'm in a fucking bitchy mood right now, but I'm just letting you know, I'm going to get it off my chest right now with just, you know, like if you come in hot, like just know, like I'm just be cautious, like be gentle with me. You know what I mean? Like it's just a communication point. So literally she came home and we had a great afternoon, great day. And it was like none of those things even happened, because once I hit those point with those 3 people, everything else around me is forgotten. So like my schedule of work and schedule of family is like completely separate now versus bringing work into the family.
And I want to get to the finance stuff and the work stuff in a second. But what I see there is like just the ability to communicate, right? Like how for granted did we take that? Like you didn't click the link to be able to communicate better with your wife. But that's a part of what it is that you really needed to do, was to be able to get on that same page, to be able to connect. And when you're, you know, focused on you and your goals and where you're going, and then at a certain point, there's a gap that ends up being created because you're running and doing all these new things now. You're excited, motivated, going to the gym, all these things, and then your wife, you know, sometimes the wives are, you know, stuck wherever they've been, right? Like my wife was like, where have you been for years? I could have used you a lot of different times. Now that you're here, appreciate it, but where the fuck were you? And now it's like when you get to this point, you know, inside of your comeback, it's like this communication thing. And now let's get together. Let's have not Mike's goals and, you know, your wife's goals, but like let's have our goals, like what the family wants to do together. So
it's becoming very organic, if I could put it that way. Like right now, like it's like, you know, every time we get together, it's like we know, let's do something that's going to be remembered, or, you know, just to be like literally do nothing and be like, hey, we had a great time yesterday.
It's awesome, Mike. Talk about, you know, the business. Like I know a bit about it, but like let these guys hear where it was, where it is now, and where it's going inside of your mind. We all have headaches inside of that, you know, category. I think there's a lack of employees pretty much across the country right now. So there's those headache leadership, you know, things shit guys are dealing with. But, you know, talk about where it was, you know, where it is now, and then where do you see it?
Yeah. I mean, I literally, man, I did pretty much a lot of it. Why I'm here today would be wrapped around that, you know, just taking on pressure from work, you know, even if it's working for somebody or, you know, working for yourself. Obviously running a business is a little bit more pressure at times because of, you know, finances, guys relying on people. So, you know, I had so many fears every single day about work, if people were going to show, if jobs were going to go well, if I would fail, if I was good enough. Like, why am I getting this work even though I'm actually growing, like, and I'm putting 50% in because I'm half in the bag showing up, you know, from the night before. But literally everything was going in a good direction, but I was just so negative because I had like this guilt of the work. Because when I actually stopped, you know, and started this, I opened my eyes. I'm like, holy shit, like it did work. Like, why am I trying to run away from it instead of run at it? You know? So I found myself running away from it because I couldn't deal with the anxiety, the pressure. And now I love that shit. You know, I love dealing with situations. I love, communicating more with everybody at work, and with, customers and, just friends that we work with. It just really, everybody is kind of adapted around like what I'm trying to do as well. With, sorry, my dog is going nuts right now. So everything is really adapting around me because, like I said, I want certain things. And my biggest goal with getting into this from the start was becoming more structured and not having work interfere with home. So dividing that line was huge for me. I'm doing that as of right now, and like I said yesterday, I got a little tickled, but, I was able to shoot it down. My goal is to continue to keep as organized and structured as possible. Life is going to throw you things, increases from fuel to materials to anything in life. Even if you're working for somebody, you still got to pay to go to work. You got to pay to go to the grocery store. Then you got to pay to do this. So all these things affect everybody around us. It's just about how you can accept it. Could we all sit here and say, oh, the world's going to end, this is happening, and that's what I used to do. Like during a time like this, I'd be freaking out. But, as people look at you that work with you and they say, like, what do you think about this? It's like, well, we put our, big boy pants on and we charge full steam ahead. The weak will not survive and the strong will. Like that's what's going to separate competition when times are good, right? Like, so let's go after this. But obviously, you have to have the right mentality and the right look at it. If I was, living the way that I was living, that's when I should have been concerned about failing. And that's probably why every day I was worried about if it was going to work or if I would continue this or if it was plain out going to fail. So now that I'm confidently here and present with everything, I know what I've done at 50%. So if I did 75%, which I'm going to give it my 150, I feel that I will make sure that I will be secure, I will be organized, and I will continue on. And, you just got to adjust as things get thrown at you. You got to bob and weave.
It's about, and I hear it, like you're like methodical, right? Process oriented, like A to B to C to D. Inside of business, we kind of sometimes get ourselves so worked up. It's a negative mindset, right? Like it's playing out of fear, it's playing not to lose, it's playing defensive. Just don't fuck up, and you're kind of like spiraling in that loop inside of your mind, and that's what you end up doing, right? Like just don't blow it, and we end up blowing it. And with where you're at now, it's like you're seeing obstacles, and everyone that's going to see this is going to face obstacles, right? Never drink it, drop again, like whatever. Obstacles are coming. It is about your mindset. It's about your ability to see that obstacle and literally in your mind make a choice. Is this going to be an excuse or is it an opportunity, right? Excuse or opportunity. We get to decide that every single time we're hitting the fucking head with something. And when we have that clarity, we have that vision, and you're taking up the leadership mantle. Your business is growing, and inside of your family, your family of origin, and then your kids and your wife, like you're starting to like ascend towards like leadership. And when you get there, the world looks at you for everything, right? Like it's a weight of humanity sometimes it feels like on our shoulders, and the ability to carry that burden and lead through difficult shit is what creates the standard, right? Now your team, your family, everybody around you needs to row towards your standard. You created this shitty standard before, and where you're at now, you're creating like this really high standard, and you expect people to meet you at it, and that what happens when you go to work every fucking day on yourself.
Yeah. And it's all an excuse. Like, just you have an excuse in your mind so that when it does happen, I told myself that was going to happen. So it's like, it's just like a satisfying feeling so that you could say that, well, I told myself this was going to happen. So now I really didn't technically fail or anything like that because I warned myself this was going to happen versus like not letting it happen, right? Like, what are you going to do to not let it happen versus making an excuse for when it does happen?
We all like to be right. So Mike, early in your journey, talk about getting inside of this thing, right? Getting inside of the community page, starting to see other guys, getting on, the clarity call that we did, getting inside of this thing the first couple of days. Like, where's your head at? Where are you at, like, emotionally inside of like that first week or two inside of this thing?
I would say, and I just, for any like newcomers or anyone looking at it, it's tough. It really is, but it's really like comes down to, do you want it? Like, and that's what I ask myself every day. Do I want this change? Do I want to feel better? Do I want to be better? Do I want to emotionally, do I want to be happy? Like, you know what I mean? Like, being sad is so friggin' easy. Being depressed is so easy. Feeling bad for your fucking self is so damn easy because it's such an easy process because you can't feel any worse. But when you feel good and then you have a bad day, you're going to sit there and say, see, this is why I didn't want to feel this way. That's why I just like being miserable. You know what I mean? Like, it's a pathetic excuse. And you just like live off of like guilt at that point too. Like, guilt is like a big thing that I used to like live off of too, because I would just divert it. That's, you know, like put it somewhere else so to make myself feel better. Like, along with the excuses, it just went on and on and on. But I was scared as shit. I'm not going to lie. You know, I didn't really know too much about, you know, what was going to happen, but realistically, like, it's just like, you know, it's just regular life. Like, there's really not much beyond that point if you want to like change and be, you know, like the normal, like, or just be the guy who you want to be, right? Like, who's the man that you want to be is like what we always talk about. And I knew who I wanted to be, but then it's like, did you want to get past like that little boy stage, or, you know, do you want to let go of him, like, and do that because you have other people responsible for, you know, now, and you have bigger responsibilities because people need you, right? Like, and that's what I kept telling myself for those 2 weeks. Did I want to have a drink? Yeah, sure. But like, I just loved getting fucked up. Like, that was just plain and simple because I didn't have to think about anything. My anxiety went away, but it would get worse obviously as I came down, or, you know, all these things. So I was just going through a lot of emotions of, and I know when we went to the experience too, you know, a lot of things from the start, right? Like, after the experience too, you know, this goes back to like my first 2 weeks as well. Like, you know, like, I've thought of that a million times of at what age would I have called myself and been like, yo, like, heads up, like, this is going to go down. Hold the fuck on for the ride and know that, get out early, right? But no, I just kept going and going and going until sometimes you got to hit a wall and you're going to either lose people that have had enough, or you're going to have the people that really truly are there for you and care for you and love for you and put you in your spot and say, if you don't do this, this is going to happen. I'm going to take these things away from you. It could be as simple as a job, family, it doesn't really matter. My sake, like I said, you know, I was affecting my family, so that came into my plate. And you know, that's one thing I'm not going to lose, you know, and I worked way too hard for that without even putting the work in. I didn't even put the work in yet. You know what I mean? Like, these are the things that I'm looking at saying, I didn't even put the work into these things and they're there. And the first 2 weeks was a lot of, why do I deserve this? Why do I deserve to feel happy? Why do I deserve to have, you know, a job, work, you know, this family, kids, all these things, you know, but I did. Like, it's as simple as you do because you want to and you want to make those things happen. What I went through in the past few months, I don't think, and you guys have said this a bunch of times, it's not for everybody. It really isn't. There's some people that might need deeper, bigger help, but these are like guys that, you know what you need to do. You obviously go to work every single day. You have your finances straight. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you might have them straight, but you go and do them and you go after it every single day. But in the moral of the story is, you know what you need to do. Is it the time and to choose to do those things? And when is that time? And if you don't want to do it, you're just going to continue on with the same shit that you're doing. If you want to do it, it's as simple as being like, fuck it, today is the day. You could be drinking right now and be like, you know, fuck it, today's the day. And like you say, it's not about alcohol. You can drink tomorrow, but it's the way that you're going to control the alcohol versus, you know, letting all these things like happen. Like, I've had a lot of times that my wife was like, you okay? And I'm like, yeah, it's just every time something bad happens, I'm like, I want to drink. So those first 2 weeks, I was like, fuck, I want to drink. Fuck, I want to drink. But really, like, what would that have done in this situation? Just forget about it. Just ease the pain. You know, and those are things that I went through just with a lot of thinking and just, you know, where did it start? Why did I let it get this far? And just keep knowing my whys, why I was doing this those first 2 weeks. And I could name 3 people of why I was doing it. Actually 4, because number 1 is myself, right, Dave? Number 1 is myself. And then there's 3 actually not even 3 other people. I'm not gonna say 1, 2, 3, 4. They got 1, 1, 1, and 1, right? So everybody's number one. But those were a lot of things that I was deep in thought with.
Excellent job, man. How about
Some of the other guys in here, some of your friends from the internet inside of this world that we meet, they become, when I open my phone, it's come back inside my phone, like that's it. How about this brotherhood, like, Travis, right? You guys right off the bat, like just became, thick as it gets. Like talk about some of the guys that you've met, inside of this thing and your journey, even at the experience, like the bonds that are formed, being in a room, being together and breaking down some serious shit, right? Like we're not in here, eating hot dogs and having a nice time. Like it is deep, it's work. Talk about some of the guys that you met and what that brotherhood, I guess, means to you.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, Travis, I literally met over the internet. We just happened to join at the same time, and we text like every single day. And literally, I would say that he probably is one of like a very, very good friend of mine. I've met him once, you know what I mean? But when somebody's going through the same thing as you, and you have somebody to lean on, like these are the guys that you can lean on. Like, if you don't want to go sit in a room and sit on a couch with a therapist, you know what I mean, and tell, this therapist what is going on in your life, and they're just going to sit there and tell you, well, what do you think about that? Why do you think about that? All these things. You have all these guys that have experienced it, gone through it, or are currently going through it. So you're going to either relate to them, you're going to have a guy that's been through it who can help guide you. And it's just the same choice of just being open with these guys. You can message them, you can get their number, you can text them, you can call them. Like there's all these assets of actual real talk answers. No bullshit, no sugarcoating, just real talk answers if you want them. And that's why I'm here today, because I wanted to hear, what I needed, what I wanted, and I didn't want anyone to sugarcoat it. And that's why, I chose this.
Well, when you think of like, that's kind of the way of the world in some ways, is like this sugarcoating kind of like bullshit. But, I think the other piece of it is like the guys inside of this community, like we don't owe each other anything, right? I'm not in here to try to like, get you to do this or get you to do that for my own my own being. Like you think of it in business, like everybody that is talking with you or interacting with you at some point has their fucking hand in your pocket. Like if Mike does this, then I can get that. If Mike improves this, then I can get that. Back here, it's like, I don't give a fuck, right? I'm really here to just tell you what I think. And that's the way it works. Like you can call another dude's bullshit because it's not going to cost you anything. It's not going to cost him anything. Like it truly is just honesty. And when we're actually able to be honest, like that's where things can feel, difficult, right? But like that's also where we grow. Like to call a guy out and say, listen, man, this is what you need to do. This is where you're off. This is what you need to improve on, and do it or not, right? The choice is yours. But that's inside of this brotherhood, like the ability to call each other shit, right? Without, doing it from a negative place, really a positive place of love, hope, happiness, community. Like I want to see these guys do better, right? And these are our peers. We want to see them get better. It's beautiful when you can connect with like a stranger, and now he's like your best friend in your phone.
Yeah, no, definitely. And that goes, I mean, I've had a couple of people like, just reached out to people when I started and everything. And then when some other people were struggling and like, might have messaged or something, I would literally be flat out honest and truthful. And like, you're not going to find that tough love anywhere besides here, but you have to be bred to accept tough love and accept that you want to hear the truth. Like there's nothing more that I wanted than was to hear exactly what I needed to do. Even though I knew it, I just knew I needed somebody to sit there and kick me in the ass as hard as I could.
That's exactly what I needed.
I would have paid you to do that too. You know what I mean? It wasn't even about the comeback. If you would have just came and kicked me straight in the ass and said, this is what you got, I probably would have been like, okay, let's do it. But actually, I wanted to go back to like that beginning too, which probably, I don't know if you want to move this to a different area of the video, but this, in the beginning, it's probably speaking with you guys was the hardest choice, right? You're on the phone with a random guy. You're like, hey, my name's Dave. I'm from Massachusetts. I'm like, fuck this guy. He's from Massachusetts and New England. Like, absolutely not. Like, this is not going to go well. So long story short, as you could get comfortable enough, but then it was like, all right, man, just don't sign up. And I'm like, what the fuck? Like, no, I want to sign up. Like, what do you mean don't sign up? He's like, hey, if it's not for you, it's not for you. And I'm like, wait a second, is this for me? So accept that when you're getting into this and you're speaking with the coaches, that you have to be extremely open-minded. And my thing, I kept telling you, Dave, which was like, oh, well, I got to figure out the financing, the money and all that stuff. I would have spent the money on friggin' a night out at a bar or something. You know what I mean? Like I would have picked up the whole bar. Like, you know what I mean? I would have did something stupid with the money and been able to wake up the next day and continue on my life. But to do it for me, I had a problem with, so like you got to really think about what things you have spent to invest on and how much of it you invested into yourself, because I feel like there is zero max limit on investing into yourself. And if you can't accept that, then then you're not ready.
And when you think of it in terms of faith and the personal investment, I would have never invested in me, right? If I was a stock, right? The version of me, a couple years ago, that was a fucking penny stock at best. Like that is not something I would want to put much money on.
Think about how many people would have made money off you right now.
Right now,
I like to think it's fucking, it's like Amazon level at a minimum, but like it really is an investment of yourself. And when you like get to that place of like, you know what, fuck this, I got to be all in. Like you go from this like back up against the wall, fucking killer mentality, like I burn the boats, this has to fucking happen. And to get there, sometimes guys are just not ready, like you said, but when they are, holy shit, the transformation happens so quickly, dude. Like you started becoming a different guy really, really early out of the gate. Some of the questions you'd start to ask were like, you could already see like his mindset like immediately jumped to the next level. And it's the next level, problems, issues, questions. But talk about the experience. Like we met one time, dude. I feel like we're fucking related. We've literally been in person one time. What was it like to decide to go to the experience and then actually show up and like, physically meet other guys, right? Like it's weird. We all live in each other's phones or computers. And then we finally get in person and it's like, holy shit, like this guy's fucking real. So yeah, talk about first meeting some of these guys.
Well, first, the average person that you may be around or something might be like, you're doing what? Like, you're going where? You're going to Lake Geneva? Like, you don't know anybody? I'm like, nope, going on a fucking plane, going to hang out with some guys and just work on myself a little bit. So, other people are not going to understand that. But when I tell you the outcome of it, it was awesome. It really was. I would have never, ever have done that 7 months ago, 6 months ago, however long ago it was. I would have never committed to that. So for me to make these two commitments, one to join and then one to do an experience all in the same year, I these commitments that these little commitments that I keep making, like, is completely opposite of what I've ever done. But when I showed up there and I flew in, I met Travis at the airport. We rented a car. Never met Travis before in my life, but you know what? Fuck it. Try it out. And then, we bullshit the whole way. We got food, like literally met him and thought like we already knew each other because that's probably what's going to happen, off the network. So that was huge for me. I mean, that trip was worth it alone just on that drive, just BSing and meeting somebody that is going through the same thing as that I was. But coming into that hotel and, and just the butterflies, like just the nerves, but like all like good feelings. It was a lot of what ifs because Dave didn't really like to tell us the schedule. I was a big, asker, but I won't get into huge detail of it, but anybody who would be interested in it, I definitely would speak with them about it. Going from mental to physical to like body and to back to mental work, like the exercises that we did were things that no man would probably want to do. It takes a lot to put that shit on the table, especially with random guys that you've never known or met or, really want to be open to about. But the letting it out was it was just amazing. It was absolutely amazing. I mean, I could give one little detail. Dave put a mirror in my face and asked me who I was, and I fucking bugged out. I was like, fuck, I don't even know who I am. Like, I started like making stuff up, and Dave's like, no, that's not you. Stop lying to yourself, because stop lying is a huge thing with us. So that, that looking into a mirror, just alone there, whatever I invested to go to this experience, like just something as little as that was worth the world to me, because now when I pass through in my car or pass through in the bathroom, I'm like, all right, you're doing all right, buddy. Like, keep it up. Let's, or if I'm having a bad day, like, what's going on, man? Like, it's not that you want to talk to yourself, but at the same time, it's really communicating with your inner self. So, deleting the fears that were put on the table for me was able for me to let go, right? I had a lot of things that, you know, Dave, you said that a lot of similar things that you work through. You know, you go from kid, family, you know, all these things, and we're all going through the same shit. I'm sure it's very similar. Whoever's looking at this, you know, link video, or, you know, the depression, the anxiety, like, you know, the make believe shit that you're doing in your head, like all this shit came out at the experience. And there was one thing that we did there that, you know, that Mark had speeched, you know, I don't know if I can say it or not, but it, yeah. So that hit home for me, you know, that hit home for me. And that's kind of what changed my, my reality on things. So every time I think of something, that's what I remember, but it goes along with that, live your single every day the fullest as much as you can. And that's what the experience taught me, that every single day is a gift, and what you make of it and how you're going to be remembered. So if I last 90 years, I last 90 years. If I last till tomorrow, you know what? Fuck it. I'm going to make sure today everyone's going to remember me.
And when you know, this is what I love. You know, I love everything about this, and I have like allergies. I'm not getting emotional about it. Yeah, I got some allergy shit going on here, but
that would have been good for the video.
I know, it would have been like really like dramatic, like wow, like but like the difference between like the way we see and solve problems, you know, before this and the way we see and solve problems now, like it's such a level of like intentionality, such a level of like, if this is it for me today, like I'm going all in on it. And when the, you know, that fear of commitment, a lot of us walk around with that right before we get inside of this thing, like, and you're, you know, for guys to hear this, it's not committing to me or to Mike or to the comeback or anything else. It's looking in the fucking mirror and being able to commit to that man. And when you can commit to that guy, now it's just time to get to work. That's it. Like the way that this is structured, like the process of this whole thing, it's about action, and it's about these wins each day. And I don't talk about like small wins, like it's either a win or it isn't. And when you can start to string together wins inside of your day, you can start to feel good, start to create a momentum, then it's like this pursuit of more. Then it's like the gasoline is on the fire. What's next? What's next? What's next? And then like we're building something, right? Like you're building yourself into like a fucking Iron Man robot, like an unstoppable force that's here to lead his family, that's here to love everybody around him that is inside of this thing, take care of the business, and just be a kick-ass fucking guy. Dude, it's been an incredible journey. Last question for you, dude, is like, what's next for you? Like, where do you see yourself down the road? Where do you see yourself? What's your, you know, big vision, I guess, for you? 2 years, 5 years, 25 years? You got a lot ahead of you. What's next for you?
I have a lot of things that I've written down as far as what I want for the future. I do personally feel that I'm not mentally and physically prepared for it yet. I know we spoke about this. There's things that I want to do, but also too, I then say to myself, it could be too late one day. It could be too late one day. But I do want to be mentally and physically prepared, because those two things that I'm working on is what builds confidence in those decisions that I make for the future. And I do feel that that's huge for anybody who does come into this. Like, you mentally and physically have to be prepared for this war, because it is war. Like, you dealing with real shit is war. So my future goal is, like I said, I just want to keep growing that finance F, but most importantly, I want to, you know, conquer that family F, and just make sure that, you know, I'm on top versus on the bottom. And I just, you know, being happy. I really just want to be happy, dude. And it doesn't take money to do that.
Beautiful. It's a beautiful place to leave it, man. Mike, I appreciate you so much. I respect your journey so much. Like, we have so many just kind of similarities. So I'm looking fucking forward to where you're going to be in 3 months, 6 months, 35 years. I appreciate your time on this thing today. Hopefully some other guys are going to see this down the road, get some value out of it. But Mike, I appreciate you. Sincere, like, fucking respect for you as a man, as a leader, as a father, as a husband. Like, you're the fucking man. So I appreciate your time on this thing today.
Thank you to thank you to you too, Dave, and also Mark and Rich and everybody that works with you guys.
Thanks a lot, brother. See you later, buddy. Thank you.
Later, bud.